Hello, everyone, and welcome to Trent University's virtual winter open house. I'm very excited to be welcoming you to the philosophy session today. My name is Carol Walsh. I am a communications and media relations officer here at Trent University. I am also a very proud Trent alumna, and I'm very pleased to be playing the role of moderator for this session. With me today, I am joined by Dr. Michael Hickson, the Associate Professor and Chair of the Philosophy Department. We also have a special guest joining us, Dr. Leo Groark, who is the President and Vice Chancellor of Trent University. Thank you for joining this session to get things kicked off with us, Leo.
Thank you, Kara. If I might, maybe I'll just make a couple comments to begin with. I'm just dropping into various sessions. What I would say about Trent University, which I want to say so that I can then talk a little bit about philosophy, but what I would say about Trent University is, for me, it's the right size of university. And by that, I mean, we're large enough that we offer a comprehensive range of programs, which you could find at any major universities. We have almost all the programs that would be available. But at the same time, we're small enough to be a friendly, intimate place, which is great for mental health and learning and getting to know people, students, professors, the president, if you like. But in this session, I want to say that I especially wanted to attend this session because I'm a philosophy professor. So this is my home department, and in a sense, I suppose I run the university, but my boss is Dr. Michael Hickson, okay, because he's chair of the philosophy department. And I especially wanted to be here because I think there are so many misconceptions about philosophy. And I will say one and then hand it over to my boss. The big misconception is that philosophy doesn't prepare you for any career or any job. And my own view and my own experiences, it's exactly the opposite. Philosophy prepares you for everything. And philosophy prepares you for everything because it teaches you the fundamental skills: how to learn, how to communicate, how to argue, how to understand the bigger picture, how to problem solve. And I would say the philosophy department at Trent University is a very friendly department. It's easy to get to know people, and it does all of that. And you might come to Trent, you might do philosophy, you might decide you want to be a philosophy professor, and that's great, and there'll be lots of opportunity. But you might decide you want to do all sorts of other things. And I feel very strongly that philosophy will provide you what you need to get ahead in that direction. So that said, Kara, I don't know if I'm going back to you or Dr. Hickson.
I will take the mic for a mere moment before going back to Michael. So I just wanted to say, I would like to echo what Leo was saying, actually, that the path that you have ahead of you at Trent and within philosophy at Trent is an exciting one, and we're happy to have you on this journey to be part of this journey with you today. So we're excited, and I'm sure that in other sessions that you've had the opportunity to join, you've learned a little bit about the reasons why Trent has been Ontario's #1 undergraduate university for 11 consecutive years. During this session, we'll start with a bit of a question and answer between Michael and myself. We are also joined by, you'll see 2 other smiling faces at the top of your screen here, by Reese Evanson, who is a third-year philosophy student at our Durham campus, as well as Stephanie, who is a 4th-year student at our Peterborough campus with a joint major in philosophy and ancient Greek and Roman studies. So I'd like to begin just with a few housekeeping notes to let you know that we also would love to hear your questions in today's session. So if you have questions throughout the session, feel free to populate them into the chat box just at the bottom of your screen. This presentation is also offered with closed captioning. To enable closed captioning, you can just select the 3 dots at the bottom right corner of your screen and select to show the subtitles there. You can also pop back over to our events page. I know we're coming close to the end of our open house today, but if you have any burning questions, feel free to pop over and pop into any of those live sessions, or pose any questions to the chat bot on the main page. And with that said, let's dive in. Let's dive into all things philosophy at Trent. So my first question is for Michael. My first few questions are for Michael. Can you give us a brief overview of the program, as well, including the types of degrees that are offered, joint degrees, and specializations?
I can. First, I just want to welcome the guests that we have. I mean, this feels very much like philosophy at Trent, where we have a small group gathered around talking about philosophy. So if you like this kind of intimate setting and discussion, then studying philosophy at Trent is a good choice. You know, when I was in high school, I didn't know much about philosophy, so I'll just sort of start there. Philosophy is usually described as the study of the big questions, right? So does God exist? Or what's the difference between right and wrong? What's the best form of government? What is love? What is the meaning of life? Things like that. But, you know, these days, I would say that philosophy is not this abstract theoretical thing. It's something that's in the news every single day during this pandemic. The questions that we're facing about how to sort of prioritize the values that we have as a society. Should we try to protect the elderly and the vulnerable first and foremost, or should we protect the economy first and foremost? These are questions that are philosophical. You have to sit around and argue about values in order to answer those questions that we're facing every single day. So, you know, picking up on what President Rourke was saying, philosophy is very practical, and it's needed more than ever these days. Now, speaking more specifically about the program at Trent, we're a very popular program. We attract students to our courses in great numbers from all the different disciplines at Trent. And we do that for a number of reasons. You know, I think first and foremost, we offer some really interesting courses. So we offer a course, for example, on love and desire. We have an entire course on death, a course on the meaning of life, a course on sport, a course on internet ethics, and one on art and beauty, as well as many, many others that attract students from all over. Also, our professors have excellent reputations for being down to earth, engaging, caring people, great lecturers, and you know, people that you can approach and who are accessible. But the students too. The students are a tight-knit group. So you'll hear about that from the students that we have here. But the Trent Philosophy Society is the oldest undergraduate club at Trent, and it's still going strong with events happening every semester. And we have opportunities for the students and faculty to get together a number of times each year. So it's a community feeling here. Getting down to the sort of nitty gritty, what can you do if you study philosophy here? Well, you can get a 3-year general Bachelor of Arts degree in philosophy. You can get a 4-year honors Bachelor of Arts degree in philosophy. You can mix and match philosophy and just about anything else, very few exceptions. I don't think you can get a degree in philosophy and nursing, because nursing is very specialized. But aside from that, and maybe 1 or 2 other things, you can do a degree in philosophy and anything else. So joint majors are very popular. You'll hear about that from Stephanie. You can study philosophy on both campuses. Trent is in Peterborough and also at Durham. So we have a representative of each of the campuses here as well. So you can think about that. You can minor in philosophy. You can do a dual degree in philosophy and law through a special program, the Trent Swansea dual degree program. I think there should be an entire there's an entire session about that program. So I won't go into more detail in that. And then starting in the fall, we have philosophy co-op. So this is just passed through Senate, and we're going to invite students to apply into a philosophy co-op program where over the course of 4 years, you'll alternate between doing academic coursework on one of the campuses and then going on a work term. So, that's something that I'm sure we can talk more about as well. So that's an overview of the program in philosophy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Michael. I'm wondering, wondering if we can talk a little bit about the first year experience at Trent and what some students, some of our students who are here with us today might expect. In your experience, what are some of the things that students do well in order to succeed in your classes in their first year?
That's a great question. So in philosophy, we have 3 first-year courses, first of all, that you can choose from. You can take a course called Introduction to Philosophy, Knowledge and Reality. So that's a course that you might be interested in if you got into philosophy by watching films like The Matrix or something like that, where you wonder, could this all just be a computer simulation? We'll actually talk about that in that course. There's another course, Introduction to Philosophy, and it's moral and political philosophy. So if you've gotten into philosophy by thinking about the pandemic and whether Canada handled it well, whether we balanced our values appropriately, then that would be a question you could ask in that class. And then we offer a course that I think everybody should take. It's a course called Critical Thinking, and it lays down the foundations for thinking clearly, rigorously, logically, lining up your thoughts in the form of arguments that are persuasive. So I would recommend everybody take that no matter what you major in, but it is one of our first year options. What do students do well? The number one thing they do well is they show up to class. They show up to class and they engage in discussion with their peers and with their professors. They get to know the people around them. The reason why that's so important is that philosophy, it's not a set of information that you need to know. It's a practice. It's a kind of habit. And you have to practice it in order to get this kind of habit of thinking and discussing. So the very best students, and we have 2 of them here, are students who are talking philosophy outside of class as well as in class. The other thing that I think students do is that makes them successful is they ask a lot of questions. They engage by saying, I don't understand, and then asking. I also think another thing they do is they take courses in other disciplines. I wouldn't recommend coming into Trent and taking, all philosophy all the time. That, I also find that some of the strongest students are students who are looking for overlaps between what they're doing in philosophy and what they're doing in psychology or math or biology, and there are overlaps everywhere. So would recommend that.
Wonderful. That's a great point, Michael. That has come up in a few other sessions that I've moderated today. Exploring those wonderful intersections between disciplines is really, in my opinion, and the opinion, I suppose, of some other folks that I've heard from today, it's where the magic happens at Trent. I wonder if we could talk a little bit about what shift from the first year experience to what happens when we depart from our undergrad at Trent. What types of jobs do you see students moving into upon graduation?
Well, I think that our president touched on that earlier. Leo was talking about how philosophy is great preparation for everything. So, we recently, did a study of where our alumni go, and a short answer is they go everywhere. They do everything. It's a wonderful variety of things. One thing that stands out though is we find that roughly 70% of our alumni, so I'm talking about Trent philosophy alums, they go on to further schooling. We tend to attract students who love to learn and who love to learn for learning's sake. So it's not surprising that a lot of our alum go on to graduate school, and they do very, very well there. A lot of our alums go on to law school. Philosophy is widely regarded as the best preparation for law school. Because you spend 4 years in a philosophy degree learning how to argue, learning how to read difficult texts and analyze those texts. And so it's not surprising that future lawyers start in philosophy. And we have students who have gone on from Trent philosophy to all of the top law schools in Canada and even beyond. But in addition to graduate school and law school, we found that our students go on to careers that involve good, clear, effective communication. So things like teaching and policy work, counseling, pastoral work, project management, university presidents, You may not know this, but one of our most famous alums is Jan Martell, who wrote Life of Pi, which is first and foremost a great book, and then secondly a great movie. But Jan Martell has spoken very highly of his training here in philosophy and how it led him to become a great writer, one of Canada's greatest writers at the time. So, but the honest truth is, with the exception of a very few programs like nursing, there isn't a single path where philosophy leads. What you should be trying to do at university is get the broadest sort of education you can to be ready for anything, especially during a changing time like we're in right now. And to have as many different skills, but especially skills of communication. And, I think philosophy is one of the best preps for that.
Kara, yeah,
Yes.
if I might, I'll just jump in a little bit.
course.
And I do want to hear from our students, actually, but so I don't want to go on too long, but just to pick up on Michael's point, I just want to give you another example of a career that makes sense with philosophy. Of course, today the world has been taken over by computers. And really, if you dig into where computers came from, really, they're a result of philosophers thinking about how do we reason about the world. That's part of logic, and it's that has made computers possible. And one place that I have seen a lot of graduates, and even at the PhD level in philosophy, go is into computation. And artificial intelligence is, if you like, people say it's going to be the next big wave. That's all about reasoning. And it's philosophers who have some of the best understanding of logic and reasoning, and not just logic and reasoning, rhetoric and how it works. So that would be another place that would be a very sensible place to go if you had a philosophy degree. One last comment I'll make. This is a bit of an advertisement. Michael mentioned that we have started actually a co-op program in philosophy. And I will tell you, this is intel, which I haven't shared elsewhere. The president's office has put in to have a co-op placement for a philosophy student. Of course, there'll be other possibilities, but we just think the skills philosophy students bring are so special that we want someone in our office who's a student in philosophy.
That's fantastic. That's the inside scoop. You heard it here first, folks. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Leo. It's great to see the ways that philosophy is equipping people with transferable skills for everything from tech to becoming a world-renowned author to university presidents. Just there's so many paths that people can pursue from here. I will jump into my next question if that's okay with you.
Sure. I would like to hear from our students.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I've got one more question about a little bit about the technical components of the program, but maybe we can save that one to the end, Michael, if that's okay. We can shift to perspectives from Reese and Stephanie.
I think that's a great idea. Let's do that.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about what makes this program the right fit for you, Stephanie and Reese. What do you love about studying philosophy, and in particular studying philosophy at Trent?
Yeah, so I guess I'll jump in on that. So I actually came upon philosophy by complete accident. I was in the Swansea Law program. Originally, I wanted to be ancient Greek and Roman studies and, study all that ancient stuff. And then I ended up in the philosophy program, and I didn't think it was for me, all this like reading and arguing, but all it took was talking to a few of the philosophy professors and attending that first day of all my intro to philosophy courses, and I was sold. What I really love about it is there's such a range of classes offered at Trent for philosophy, and I'm interested in everything. I've taken courses from biomedical ethics to right now I'm in a second year course on intro to philosophy of religion. So everything is literally offered at Trent, and it's so interesting. And I'm one of those students who's in school for the sake of learning, not just for the sake of a career. So it's a great department if you want to open your worldview, for sure.
Wonderful. And Reese?
Well said, Stephanie. Personally, what I love most about the philosophy program that I'm in is the discussions. The classes at Trent Durham are a bit of a smaller size, which allows for a more intimate discussion of the philosophical topics. Class structures involve open conversations about material, and I find conversations can often capture students and encourage them to voice their ideas. The professors are very open-minded, and they assist individuals in their genuine struggles and thoughts about the content. Philosophical discussions make me eager to come to class, and I'm excited about the next day's class usually. So if you feel inspired about something that you've read in the assigned readings, be sure that your professors at Trent will match your excitement and enthusiasm about the content. And they really motivate you to think about your conclusions carefully, creatively, and critically.
Fantastic. I love that rule of threes. As a communicator, that sang for me, Reese. That was lovely. My next question is a words of wisdom for incoming students from you and we'll start with Reese this time, and then what advice would you offer for incoming students?
So I have two pieces of advice. The first one would be dive in. I think it's particularly important and rewarding to immerse yourself in the material. Read the homework carefully, put some time aside to genuinely think about the ideas, talk to your friends and your family about the information, and really try to develop your own ideas. And in addition to just understanding the concepts, ask yourself why you agree with them or why you don't agree with them. And then the second piece of advice that I have is participate. Ask questions to your professors. Don't be shy to attempt to answer questions you're unsure of. The worst thing that can happen is something's clarified for you. And really trust yourself. Trust your thoughts and your feelings about the content. At Trent, it's a really judgment-free space, I find.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess I'll jump in. I also have two pieces of advice. First of all, office hours. I cannot stress enough, you need to go to your professor's office hours. It's the best thing you can do. They're not going to get mad if you come knocking on their door or sit in their Zoom waiting room. They want you to talk to them. That's what those hours are for. And even if you don't have like a specific question about a reading or a class material, I know, for example, back when we were online, one of my professors wasn't doing synchronous Zoom. So I went to their office hours purely just to have discussions with them about what was in the lecture. So you don't have to have a reason to go, just go. And then my second piece of advice is participating in clubs and groups. So at Trent, we have an amazing group for philosophy students, Trent Philosophy Society, and we run tons of fun events. We run like student symposiums, so students get to present their papers to their peers. We run mini get-togethers where you get to come and discuss philosophy. Like, it's just, get involved and don't be afraid. I didn't think I would want to be involved at all, and here I am. I'm now the coordinator of the Philosophy Society. So you need to throw yourself out there and honestly have a good time. Take time and enjoy it.
Thank you both so much. It's so inspiring to hear about the ways that you are grabbing the experiences that come to you through the philosophy program. And it's so nice of you to share those experiences with our guests here today. My final question is a bit of a more technical question, and I may actually pass along for the final word as well. Before I give out, I will also give some closing remarks about people. I would really like to encourage people to come and explore Trent in person. We have spring open houses coming up, lots of tour options over the March break too. So if you're curious and you haven't yet set foot on campus, it is a truly inspiring place to study at both of our campuses in Peterborough and Durham. So I encourage you to get some experiences on campus via tour or via open house. Michael, I'm hoping that you can talk a little bit about the technical pieces, how many students are typically accepted into the program and some of the admission requirements. And then I also want to save some question and answers for the end. So if anyone has questions, please populate them into the chat because we are coming close to the end.
Right. Well, this part's very easy. Philosophy requires you to take grade 12 English. And that's, aside from that, just the other things that are required to get into university. And there's no limit, there's no cap to the number of students we'll take. Come to Trent and explore. Most of our students don't enter as majors in philosophy, even most of our majors. They come here thinking they're going to study something else. They take a philosophy class and then they're hooked. So come here and take, think you're going to take whatever you want, and we'll steal you within the first year, I promise.
Fantastic. I think that we've addressed any of the questions that have come up so far in the chat. We've talked a little bit about co-ops. That's a new and exciting option for people to get hands-on. Leo, Michael, I wondered if you wanted to add in anything about co-ops.
Well, not about co-op, but just as we're coming to an end, a couple things. Michael's right. I would say I began in chemistry, and then I took a few philosophy courses. People coming from high school tend not to know what philosophy is. So I think it's true. What we get is migration, and that's a good thing. Kara, I just wanted to pick up on one thing that you said, which I think is a little profound, and that is the idea that you should come and visit our campuses. And I would say, not just for Trent, if you're looking at other universities as well, one of the best ways to get a sense of whether a campus is a place you want to be is to go and visit it in person. Of course, especially after COVID, we're all very used to using Zoom. That's what we're doing now. And that's a great thing. But coming to campus, and not just our campus, but other campuses that you're interested in, I think that's an important way to get what they offer and whether it's a fit with you. So please, both in the case of Trent and other places, visit the campus. If you come here in the summer, bring a bathing suit and you can swim in the river. That's a part of living in Peterborough.
There's so many activities that can take place on that river. If you come in basically any season, I think that you can put any kind of paddled watercraft in that river as well, can't you, Leo? I did also want to pick up I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat, but I did want to talk a little bit about the interdisciplinary environment, because Stephanie, one of our students, is a joint major, and I'm wondering if you might be willing to share some of your experience as a joint major, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I became a joint major in my second year, as was mentioned earlier, in philosophy and, as we call it, classics, but ancient Greek and Roman studies. And of course, as we all know, as Dr. Groark has even mentioned in the chat, there's people like Plato and Socrates who are these ancient writers. So when it comes to combining my two majors, there's plenty of courses where we are talking about ancient philosophers. And it's so interesting how connected they are, but there's tons of other interdisciplinary. So for example, I took biomedical ethics, and a lot of my classmates were actually nursing majors. I was one of the only philosophy majors in that course because it's so well cross-listed. So that's the thing, like philosophy, I would say, goes well with anything. I have friends who are psych in philosophy or philosophy and physics. Like it goes with anything, and no matter what course you take, you will find a piece of philosophy in it for sure.
If I might, Kara, I did want to respond to Caitlin, who's asking about a major and trying to decide on the major as she comes to Trent. And let me do a little philosophy on this. I think very often students, when they're coming to university, think that they need to decide a major first, and that's one way to proceed. But I would emphasize that one of the reasons you come to university is to find out what the options are. So you don't really need to decide at this point. And sometimes I worry that 17, 18-year-olds are trying to decide what the rest of their life is going to be before they come to university. I would like to turn that around. Sure, if you've got a particular interest, pick that major and just go where your heart tells you to go. But one of the major reasons you come to university is to find out, not because you already know, and not because I'm a parent, but I will say, and not because your parents know, but so that you can find out what the possibilities are. And later on, that's when you make the major decisions about what's the best way forward.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Leo. And thank you for catching that question in the chat from Caitlin. We are coming close to the very end here. I want to thank everyone for sharing your insight today on our panel. And I want to thank everyone for attending. I hope that we gave you lots of things to think about, some moments of inspiration. And I would really echo what Leo is saying about coming and exploring our campus and exploring the university experience more broadly. I wish you well on your journey ahead. Thank you for joining us today.